Entrepreneurs Hangout, Season 2, Episode 3. I am with my beautiful friend, Melissa Anderson. I know. Look at this. And it's who doesn't want to be the lipstick CEO?
Right? Who doesn't want to be the lipstick CEO?
I love it, darling. So, Melissa, just tell, first of all, where are you calling in from and where is your beautiful face showing up from? Tell my listeners a little bit more about you.
I am in the very tip top of our country on the northeast side in Maine, about 4 hours outside of Canada and 3 hours away from Boston. So it's cold and full of trees. So the air is wonderful, but very isolated.
Very isolated. So I bet you're having beautiful fall weather though.
It is actually, it's really nice. It's funny because it starts to get, when I was living in Atlanta, it would be 60 degrees and I would love it because 60, 65 is like perfect fall weather up here. So everyone would be cold and I'd be running around without a jacket on. And that's about where we are right now. And I'm looking out the window and the leaves are turning orange, red. It's really beautiful.
It is. I've been there. I've been to Maine twice. And it was beautiful, but it is isolated.
It is isolated. It's isolated for sure.
So a little bit of background. I always like to tell our listeners, how we met. And so Melissa and I were like a couple months ago, no, at least 3 or 4 months ago, right?
Yeah, the beginning of the summer.
That was going to say, wow, time just goes by so fast. We connected in a mastermind and actually really just hit it off. I loved your energy. I loved what you represent. And I just knew that I had to have you on my podcast to share your story and just tell everybody, what you do. On the Entrepreneurs Hangout, I love taking business people, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and having them tell their story and what you do. So, Melissa, where do you want to start?
Well, we can start at my most recent restart, right? As women and as we go through our lives, we are constantly having to redo and re-begin and change and modify. And the biggest thing that has affected my life just happened last year. Obviously, the pandemic happened to all of us and we all took a hit of some sort if we were an entrepreneur. And at the time, I was doing social media and digital marketing for restaurants. So it was barely weeks before I lost my whole client book of business. And I couldn't say anything to them because I was watching these companies just hurt. So I went through, hence the lipstick CEO, I went through the summer and did like a little touch of retail for mental health purposes. And now I have a small cosmetics company. But it wasn't doing what I needed to do. As an entrepreneur, I really like to have low overhead and high profit. Yeah. That doesn't happen with e-commerce retail typically. So I dove back into digital and try to figure out how to bring everything I was doing online, how through sales funnels and automation, these things that I hadn't done yet. I had built websites, but I had no idea how to navigate this whole new intricate, your whole business can be online world. It got frustrating for me. My marriage started to really suffer because we're isolated and things got really dark. And I remember October 3rd of last year, it was just, I had enough. I just got to a point where I was, arguing back and forth with my husband. I'm listening to my daughter be her, as much as I love her independent personality, she was 2 and absolutely me, but with no empathy. So completely crazy, demanding. And something just hit me and I was there in a place where I thought I'd never be. And I handed my 2-year-old to my 18-year-old and I said, I really need you to go sit in the other room. And I went to the back of the house and I closed the bathroom door and sat on the side of the tub and called the suicide hotline.
Oh, Melissa.
I never thought that I would get there. Uh, I didn't feel comfortable calling a friend because I am the one that wrote the book on self-esteem, literally.
I understand.
I didn't call family because I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to feel shamed because I was in this place, but I also knew I needed to talk to somebody because it wasn't okay. It was going through my head, the things that I could do to make it as easy as possible. For about 45 minutes, the woman on the other line was just an angel. She made me feel normal, made me realize I wasn't alone. She's like, I talk to about 100 moms just like you every week. I was like, what?
That's
She said,
scary.
yes, it is scary. And I do not like that quote, misery loves company. But in that moment, Kylie, I needed to hear that. I needed to know that this was actually a normal thought process when you're going through so much of this. And now to this day, I'm trying really hard to help normalize the conversation that these thoughts are normal and okay. It's what you do when you have them. It's the action you take after. So after that call, obviously everything wasn't rainbows and unicorns.
Right.
But I really had to sit and think, how did I get here? Because I've lost a child. I've lost a husband at an early age. I've gone through so many big things that never put me there. And when I thought about it, I realized it was because I didn't have passion anymore.
Right.
All I was doing was trying to figure out how to resurrect a business that had died, gone into it 6 feet under, and I'm digging in the dirt trying to make it come back alive.
Bring some life into it. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I really missed, I had been having women's empowerment events up here in person. I really missed making a difference for women. I realized that my passion was gone. There was nothing left. And that was what always got me through the day when it was really hard, right? You're doing something to impact the world. You're doing something that's going to help someone else that's in a place where you used to be. So I flipped everything on its head and I decided to start working with women on writing their stories. And it took a long time to finally get to where I'm at now, about 8 months of figuring out how I wanted to do it, the quickest way to get it done, and how to maximize my ability to work with more women. Because if I only work with one woman at a time, it's not enough for me.
Right. Right.
So now I've got my whole program wrapped around short books that are bestsellers for women to tell their stories quickly and boost their business. And now when I get up in the morning, I know I'm going to talk to at least 2 women that are about to impact hundreds of women. And that is, no matter what happens now, no matter what's going on around me, I know I have that. And that gets me through every day now.
I love it. I love it. It's interesting. And we'll talk about the book in a second. I do say, like, I want to be able to impact one person at a time. Now, one person at a time isn't meaning one woman each and every time, but I want to take one person and make our world a better place. And I truly honestly believe that if we help each other, then look at what one person can do.
Absolutely. I think to myself, when you work with one woman, for every woman you work with, she is going to reach behind her and help another woman and possibly more.
Right.
And it's like, I kind of think of it as like a spider web, and we're all kind of across the world. And now with the pandemic, the part of the blessing is we can help people that we never would have known before.
Right.
There are women that we can be impacted by and impact that we would never have even connected with had it not been for the fact we were all forced online. And that is amazing. So as horrible as what we're going through is, it's also one of the best things that could have happened for our gender. Because when we work together, shit happens.
That's right. That's right. And it's, so I'm doing a keynote talk tomorrow on the talk is the three I's of 2021. And it starts with, it starts with innovation, influence, and impact. And this is not just a women's group. It's a business group, but it is so important to understand that yes, the pandemic had its challenges and businesses had their challenges, but it's also a huge reset.
Yes, that's a
And
great way to put it.
you know how you said, okay, here you were digging out this business that you really that wasn't successful and you weren't passionate about it anymore. So you can't, it's almost like, the same thing as like a hurricane or a tornado that has to go in, wipe everything out and start over. And you got to
Exactly.
start over. That is awesome.
It is exciting. It's really exciting. It's exciting now.
So when you and I met, we were both working on the same level of where our businesses were, using automation. But now you switched just a bit. I want to talk about what your I know it's going to be your Black Friday special, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. I'll start with why I created this. I created a book called Dragon Slayers Wear Lipstick, epic
Love
tales
the
of
name.
women who've slayed their dragons and ruled their queendom. And I started that back in May with a virtual women's empowerment summit. It just released on October 10th and hit international bestseller on the same day. So
Melissa,
super
wow.
exciting. Super exciting. I'm excited for all the women that were part of it. And I'm excited for the readers that are going to get to read it because it's all different stories. Nothing is replicated. So what I decided to do was, because this is great for women that are, in our age group to share stories, but really if I could help that girl that is 19 years old, 27 years old, that is carrying forward mistakes that she made as a teenager, mistakes she's made, decisions, we'll call them decisions that she made in her 20s that she's beating herself up for. Maybe she feels bad about how she looks. That girl was us. And it took us into our 30s and into our 40s to really get a handle on why it's okay to feel those feelings, but don't let it affect your life. So I put together a collaboration book that's going to be available to get into only for Black Friday. This is a special project, especially since the price is going to be crazy, but it's going to be a guaranteed bestseller. And the title that we landed on, actually, I'll tell you exactly what it was.
I'm excited.
The title that we landed on is really fun. But it's also a little out there because I'm not shy. And I think that vulnerability and transparency is so important. So the name of the book, tentatively, is Let That Shit Go, Dragon Slaying Queens Aligning the Next Generation with Power and Purpose.
I love it. So what you're saying is because I was part of a collaboration book. I want to say maybe 3 years ago. And I loved the experience of it. I think I would have done something like gravitated toward more of your topic. Because it's not all roses out there. Right?
No.
It's not all cheery this and holy this and that, and there are some real stories that have got to be shared if we're going to get real with how we're going to raise our daughters nowadays.
Absolutely.
So you're going to be doing a collaboration book.
Yes.
And the authors will have a chapter, I'm assuming.
Yes, and it's going to be a little different. It's going to, instead of being considered a chapter, it's going to be a letter. It'll be a letter either to her younger self telling herself what she knows now and what she needed to let go of and how it could have changed her life, and explaining that. And I also, because my market is entrepreneurial women and business owner women, coaches, I would like at the end of it for it to be a spin into how they took what happened to them, like what the story I just told you, and how it made them so good at what they do now. Because the decisions that you made that you hurt yourself,
Yeah.
when you come back from that, you have a superpower now, right? So it'll be a letter to your younger self, or a letter to just a younger woman
Okay.
that may have been through, maybe going through what you went through.
Well, hit me up on your offer, because I want to be one of those women in your book.
Yay, that would be
I'm
fantastic.
serious. I'm
Awesome.
serious. So that is great. I what a fabulous project to work on. And I'm so glad the timing of me asking if you wanted to be on the podcast, because we're going to be able to push out your offer on the podcast.
Yay.
But this is just amazing. I want to do this though. So you started this in May, right?
No, the one I started in May just published.
Okay.
It got backed up because I had multiple writers that I had writers that had never written before.
Right.
So it was a little bit slower, which was fine. Totally worth it.
Yeah.
With this one, because it's structured different, there's no need for perfect verbiage. There's no need for, it really is how you would handwrite a letter.
Hey, everyone. If you're enjoying the Entrepreneurs Hangout podcast, please like, love, subscribe, and share me. Don't forget to hit the notification buttons. Bye for now. Right. I like it.
And then, actually, speaking of timing, we're going to go to pre-sale in December so that all of the authors can become bestsellers and can start advertising themselves as bestsellers come January. And then in January, it will publish, which is perfect because each of my books also has a nonprofit. This last one is benefiting Safe in Harm's Way. This next one is going to benefit, the proceeds will benefit human trafficking prevention and awareness. Wonderful. Which is January is Human Trafficking and Awareness Prevention Month. So it all lined up just perfectly.
I bet some of it was also not by mistake, because Melissa and I both agree and believe that people meet for reasons and things happen for reasons.
Absolutely.
So, Melissa, that is really exciting. I want to ask you, what's your strategy? Because now with I'm going to say the shift, but it's not really a shift. It's just another avenue that you get to tell your story, and then how you work with people. So how is that strategy going to work with, like, okay, this is obviously a continued project that you're going to probably do, whatever it might be, once a year, twice a year, however many times you're going to be able to do it. And then are you going to use that as leverage to do your coaching clients? I mean, just kind of like I think that this is an interesting topic on how people find their channels.
It's one of the things that I do is, so technically I'm a story coach. I coach on story. I coach on telling what you're not telling, because typically you're hiding the one thing that is going to bring your people to you because it's embarrassing or it makes you vulnerable. So that's the first thing we do, is we find what that is, and then we put that out to the world. I will say that there were multiple authors that were uncomfortable. But then when we had our interviews to the public and they were talking about it, a couple of them went back in and actually went a little bit deeper because they knew how impactful that was. And it's beyond the title of bestseller, and it goes into, by me allowing myself to be this open, I can really help someone else be open. Right. So that's the first thing we do, is we get really deep into that. The book part is just a part of my whole program. Actually, I work on, my actual core program is called the 42-page bestseller, and we work together to write a 42-page book that has about 5,000 or 6,000 words, and a bunch of other stuff that when you get to know me, I tell you what it is. We get that as a bestseller, and then we build your coaching program around it. So that way you have a lead in. Now you're starting your coaching program or restarting your program as an expert because you're a best-selling author. And then from there, we continue. I have a mastermind where we'll create your membership site and continue to do all of your marketing.
I love it. This is we get to be around and we get to surround ourselves by amazing women that really truly will make a huge difference, a huge impact on our world.
Yes.
So how are you out there right now? Like how are you finding the various, we're going to call it storytellers or letter writers in this new book, right? They're writing a letter to their younger selves or a younger girl.
Mm-hmm.
How are you finding people?
The first thing I do is I tap on people that I know, that I know a little bit of their story. And because there's only 15 slots in this project, and this won't be a project that I do again. The Dragon Slayers Wear Lipstick is one that I'll be doing twice a year at the least. But this one is a one-time only. So I'll be approaching women that I really, really want their story in this book because I know it could make a difference for a 20-something-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I will be marketing it as well. And a lot of it will be word of mouth from my other authors that have already worked with me. Because with this particular book, all you have to do is write the letter, everything, editing, all of it's included. So, and the price, dare I say, and it's funny because I have a coach that's not happy. You know how when you tell them what you're doing and they're like, "What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I'm changing the world." Yeah, the price is $4.97.
Okay.
To be a part of the book. So
consider it done. Bam.
Right, I know, it's yay. It's actually a quarter of what it normally costs to be in the book, but I mean, they're all passion projects, but this one is something I really would have loved to have read in my 20s. I think it could have changed my life in my 30s and how I behaved and what I thought I was worth and my own value. So,
and it also, don't you think that one of the things, obviously we're passionate about nonprofits. I am a serious believer of community outreach, and you have to be able to have that mechanism in your life and in your business.
yes.
And for me, even in my program, there is a mindset module. And I ask my women, I'm like, when it's time, when you're at the level of where your business is starting to financially improve and you're actually making money, do you have this mechanism as to how are you going to give back? And it's not to say that, my team were like, Kylie, don't you think that that's kind of actually insinuating that people should and need to? I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
No, it's not coming out. And I even say, if you don't, that's okay. But are you open-minded to coming up with that? Right. And you know what? If you're in your own bubble and you don't have that, well, you owe it to the world. I mean, I don't care if it's tithing or if it's volunteering at the shelter for dogs, kids, pets, whatever it is, you've got to have that. You've got to give back to community.
Absolutely. I 110% agree. And if you tie it into projects, the great thing is, and if we're going to be just real transparent here, when you tie nonprofits into your projects, you have such an even bigger boost, right?
Yes.
Because you have all of their followers that want to support them. So you're helping them be basically a fundraiser while you're paying yourself at the same time and getting something done for your clients. So when you structure everything you do with giving back in mind, much bigger things happen, right? And this book, I have every intention of actually, I don't want to say soliciting, I'm going to be sending copies to high school guidance counselors. I truly believe that college guidance counselors and high school guidance counselors should have this book on their shelf. Because they deal with so many girls with, eating disorders and suicidal ideations and body dysmorphia. And if they can hear from real women who are now grown up and successful, who went through exactly what they went through, I truly, with all of my soul, spirit, heart, mind, everything, believe that we can make a difference for some of these girls.
I've experienced some of my kids are older because like I say, God gave me babies early because he knew I wasn't going to sit still long enough when it was really my time. But some of my friends with daughters, with, say, for example, low self-esteem, they've got, you wonder sometimes, you want to say, darling, look at yourself. You are a beautiful young woman. There is nothing that you could possibly do to make your mom and your dad, me, your parent, not love you. I mean, you are worth it. But the image that they see is just different.
It
And
is. It's
yeah.
And it's based on, their friends, it's based on society, and there's so many things. And, they tell you in, when you're in high school, well, a lot of the things that we would say is things like, oh, I'm not going to need trigonometry when I get out of high school. You're not going to need those things that you feel about yourself out of high school, because when you're in your late 20s and early 30s, most of those people aren't even around anymore.
Right.
And quite frankly, they end up going through some of the stuff that you went through. So
Right.
You're ahead of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So Melissa, switching gears just a bit from do you think that, and this is a loaded question, so I didn't prepare you for it, but I find still women are always second guessing their worth, right? And don't you find, like, because we're both in the coaching business, various different things, but we are very entrepreneurial. And I find like women second guess themselves, undervaluate what their worth is, their programs, their books, their whatever. And do you think that that's true? Or do you think that men and women kind of both view that the same?
Absolutely not. They don't. We could have the same program, and a man will go out and, sell it like he's the best thing that ever walked the earth. Women, we have empathy, we have humility, and this isn't to say that men don't have those things, but we inherently wear those on our sleeve. We want to save the world because whether or not we choose to have children, we typically are born with that nurturing gene. So we always want to be able to help everyone. And by helping everyone, we feel like we really shouldn't charge as much. And then we question ourselves a lot. I didn't go to college. All of my genius came from life experience.
Yes.
And there's a lot of women that's the case. But they don't give themselves credit again until they're much older and they realize. So there's something I do to my clients that are feeling that way. And I make them write down, what's your biggest genius that you share with your clients? Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to learn that? We'll say, my biggest genius would be maybe social media. How long did it take me to learn that?
Okay.
Oh my gosh, 10 years.
Right.
Okay. How long will it take you to teach someone else how to do what you do? Maybe 3 months.
Right.
So you're telling me you're going to save them 9 years and 9 months.
Right.
What do you think that's worth? And when you think of it that way, it changes everything.
It does. It does. That's a really good analogy. I like it. We do a lot of self-talk, and especially when we were young. And this is why I love what your book represents, because, like, for example, I used to avoid the topic of like, oh, what college did you go to? Right. I went to the School of Hard Knocks. That's the one I went to. And now I love when I see that from somebody else, because it's like, you know what? there isn't anything I would change about anything. I have 3 beautiful kids.
Mhm.
Everything all happened exactly the way it was supposed to happen. And from my life experiences and from everything that, all of the crazy businesses that I've owned, some of them super successful, lots not super successful. This is where I'm at today. I get to talk to a beautiful woman about this passion project of yours that is going to make a difference. And what's not to like about that?
Right. And we didn't go to school for that.
I know. Exactly.
It's I think, and like, yes, everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't have even known what I wanted to go to school for. I was accepted to Berklee College of Music. And I was a vocalist, and I can't even imagine at this point that that's what I would be doing. Like, there's nothing about that as a 46-year-old woman that I see myself in. Even if you were to ask me 3 years ago, would I be doing what I'm doing now? I would say, no way, there's not it. What? Best-selling author, helping other women be best? No,
Yeah.
that's not, I can't even imagine. I didn't go to college. I can't write. I can't this.
Yeah.
Guess
It's like
what?
that
You
little-
hire editors, because there's other people that went to college that know how to edit. There's other people that know how to format.
That's
You just
funny.
have to be able to know how to share.
Share it and tell your story. And
Mhm.
and that is awesome. So not a lot of people know this, but I guess they will after the podcast now. But I have a book in my head, and I've started it several times on paper. And I thought, you know what, I've got a title, and I thought I was actually going to talk to a ghostwriter, because I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell the story, but then I'll have like a different persona on it, so that then therefore I don't have to embarrass my kids or tell the story of like, was that really you, Kylie? Did you really do those things? Or did that really happen? So your timing to the letter portion of it is I'm thinking about that. And it's how you share your story and make it compelling difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So
Thank
now,
you.
of course, everybody's going to find ways to, in the comments below, you'll know exactly how to get a hold of Melissa. And I would love I know we've got your picture, but I would love for your first book to also help promote that. I know that you can
Absolutely
probably get it
wonderful.
on Audible, downloadable. How do people find the first book?
Right now it's on Amazon, and it is on pre-order for the ebook. We are releasing the ebook it's going out on October 31st, and the print will become available on October 31st to purchase. All of the authors are selling signed print copies individually, however, now, so
Okay.
that way, when they all come in, they can go out directly from the author.
That's amazing. And how many chapters and authors were there?
9.
9. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
we
awesome.
have in that we covered bullying, we covered suicidal ideation, domestic violence, child sexual abuse, learning that you're gay, and then boundaries as a mom. There's just so much in there, and it's all different. And there's a woman from the UK, a woman from Canada. There's global authors. It's such an interesting, you could literally pick it up and jump through the book to read what you want. And they're all short, like not long, time consuming. So
wow, that is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That is such a huge undertaking and such a huge honor that you should be really, really, really proud of yourself.
Thank you. It's still a little surreal, I will say. I did go out and get the bottle of champagne and then kept the bottle, put some lights in it. But it's very surreal, because you don't think, I've written the book, I've helped other people write a book, but to go through the process of putting all these women together, it was a huge undertaking. But now that I've done it, it's replicable, right? Like once you do something the first time, it's just a matter of repeating the process.
Right. I'm so, so happy that you're doing this. This is going to be, I can't wait to just like keep, hear all about your journey and just watch it. Just follow it as it's going. I love it. I love it.
Thank
Melissa,
you.
thanks so much for being on the Entrepreneurs Hangout podcast. And
Thank you.
I look forward to just giving you a huge shout out and getting all my followers to be your followers.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Bye.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us with the Entrepreneurs Hangout. If you love us, come join us on Facebook with Entrepreneurs Hangout Facebook group. It's where entrepreneurs go to collaborate and grow.